What's up, guys? Sean here, and I just had a spontaneous idea for a knife modification on this Yojimbo 2. This is what I was carrying earlier today, and I just got to thinking, this little hump right here doesn't serve any purpose, other than, it might add some strength to the front of this blade stock, due to how thin of a point it comes to. Maybe there could be an argument to, giving it a little bit of added strength and stability at the middle of the blade, but I don't use this knife that hard. This is more of a utility. If I have a lot of heavy duty cardboard cutting or something like that, where I'm cutting a lot of material and I want a knife that's going to go through it nice and easy, this is the knife that I would choose. Or if I'm out on the town and I want a knife that would be good in a self-defense role, this knife also will fit that task. So this knife features a Wharncliffe blade. However, it's not a traditional Wharncliffe blade shape because of this little hump right here. But what I plan to do is just simply grind off that little hump, and then what we will be left with is a traditional Wharncliffe shaped blade. So yeah, I marked off with marker the area that I'm going to be grinding away, and I used these shipping labels to basically as a straight edge to mark out the line from point to point, because I don't want to take any extra material out of the blade stock back here, and I really only want to take away as little as possible, to where I'm not jeopardizing the strength of the blade, but I'm simply just making it look better. So I want to keep some of this thickness of the blade stock before the hollow grind, which would have been better if I didn't wrap this all up beforehand. Here, let me see. Let me do this for you guys. I will go ahead and unwrap this so I can show you exactly what I mean, because you guys are worth it. And I'm not being sarcastic when I say that. I do mean that wholeheartedly. Okay. Yeah, I wrapped this up very good. Several layers. Whenever you're using any power tools or whatever to do a modification, you want to go ahead and protect any area of the blade that you are not, working on. All right, here we go. Bingo. Okay, so disregard the glue residue and such, but you can see this is the flat grind, and then it transitions to a hollow grind. So what I was saying is, I wanted to leave a little bit of that flat grind, at least, out towards the tip, to maintain the strength and rigidness of the blade. So we have about 1 millimeter or 2 of the flat still left over after removing this portion of the hump on the blade, and that should leave us with plenty of strength for any of my intended uses for this knife. And I think this is going to look pretty good. Now, I've seen people do different blade modifications with this. A lot of people take that hump off, but everybody goes to different extremes of how much of the blade they grind off, and I wanted to keep this pretty minimal. I didn't hate the blade profile from the start, but I do think it's going to look really nice and actually be an improvement, and it's going to give this more of a symmetrical look with the handle profile. If you take a look at the handle, how it goes down like this, it's going to match that closer than it does currently with this hump. So it's just going to be nice. I want to keep that as straight as possible, and then it's just going to drop straight down. So like I said, traditional Wharncliffe blade profile is what I'm going for, and I think I'm going to start this off with a Dremel. So here is the Dremel that I use. It's a Hyper Tough cordless Dremel, has a built-in lithium battery. This goes for, I don't know, 15 or 20 bucks at Walmart. Has variable speed. This thing works great. It does the job for anything that I use it for. You know, doing detent modifications. I don't really do any, I don't add in any choils, but this bit I have on this right here, this little diamond bit, would be perfect for adding in a sharpening choil. If that is your style and your preference, that would be perfect for adding in a choil. These type of bits are also perfect for modifying the detent hole. However, for this modification, I'm going to be using a sanding drum. This is the coarse grit drum right here. And then I have a fine grit sanding drum right here. So of course we're going to start off with the coarse, and then later on we will go to the fine. That is one option for you know, attacking this. And then another thing that I have that I haven't even opened yet is this Rust-Oleum detail sander kit. Now this is something that's nice to have. It gives you a nice little handle, and it's a nice thin section of sandpaper, and it allows you to more easily do detailed work. And let's see, it gives us a couple different grits. Included is 400 grit, 1000 grit, and 1500 grit, I believe. Let's double check. Yep, 400, 1000, and 1500. So after we get done with this Dremel, I'm going to use the Dremel to get it down close, but I'm not going to take it down all the way to that line because I want to leave some room for error. You know, you can always take away more material, but you can't put material back. So we're going to take away just the bulk majority of where I have this marked off in black. And when we get close to the line, then I'm going to switch over to the you know, detailed sanding. And if I was in a hurry, I would probably do it all with the Dremel. I'm sure I can without any issue, but I'm not in a race, and I haven't done this modification before, so I'm going to take my time with it and go from there. So to protect this blade, I'm going to be using some masking tape, since I took off the shipping label that I was originally going to use. So I got my tape right here. And you can actually use this masking tape to mark off your hump if you want. So what I did was I kind of lined it up with a profile where it first starts coming down at that angle, and just I wanted to make like a straight run across the blade and just basically take out that hump, but keep everything else. So we can go like that, fold that over. And on this side, we'll do the same. So there we have it. That should kind of give you an idea of the blade profile. And we're gonna tape up this last little area. All right, guys, so we have the blade protected. Now I'm gonna change out the bit on this Dremel. Get this nice and tight. All right, that should do it. And you can either do it while holding the knife, and I would definitely use the Dremel in my dominant hand so you have full control. And I'd probably set my hand down on the table like this, have a nice tight grip, and then do this at an angle where my right hand is basically braced on the table as well. And that's going to give me additional control of this Dremel. If you haven't used a Dremel before and a sanding wheel in a situation like this, when you make contact with the blade, the Dremel is going to want to pull to the side. Whatever way this Dremel rotates, it's going to want to yank it to that direction. So you just have to be careful for that initial jolt, and you want to make sure you have a nice tight grip on the knife and the Dremel. And then you want to use very light pressure. You don't want to be pushing down with the sanding wheel. That will cause you to have this Dremel go across the whole blade, or if I'm working from the other side, it can cause it to shoot back and, you know, grind up some stuff back here. So maintaining really light pressure is going to avoid a lot of possible issues. Now, another thing you can do is all right, so with a little desk or table vise like this, all you have to do is, these work really good on like a stovetop, a glass stovetop, because it has a suction cup on the bottom. So that's not going to suction very well to a wooden table. But if you have a, you know, like a glass stovetop, then it works perfectly fine. And then for these jaws of the vise, these two sides, actually there is rubber covers that go over top of this, and you could have the blade clamped into the vise and do it that way. That would be the safest way to do it, where you have absolutely the most control, but that's not really my style. I like doing things, you know, I like being the one that has all the control over it. And you know, it's just, I guess it makes me feel like I'm living on the wild side, you know. So I'm just going to be holding it in hand. And I also like the mobility and versatility of holding the knife. Okay, so I don't have to unclamp it or turn the vise around to get to the other side and see everything that's going on. You know, I can move it as I go, and that's what I like personally. So like I said, this is my first time doing this modification, so I'm by no means a professional when it comes to modifying the Yojimbo 2, but I am fairly certain and confident that I'm going to be able to do this no problem, and it should come out very good. All right, guys, so let's give this a go. Wish me luck. Alright, so I'm going to pause for a second. Quick little tip. You don't want to sit in one spot for too long. So, as you can see, when I'm grinding this, I am moving forward and backward, you know, back and forth slowly. You want to try to keep this as level as you can. You don't want to be grinding only one side, but, you know, as long as you keep checking periodically throughout, you want to be checking very frequently, actually. This is something you want to pay close attention to, so you don't accidentally grind away any material that you don't want to. And for the record, I am running this at its standard setting, which is 15,000 RPM. That is the setting that it comes on automatically when I turn it on. And it seems to be a effective RPM range, but it's not to the point to where it's hard to control. Still easily manageable. Trying to give you guys a good angle. Push this sanding drum down a little bit. We might actually go through a couple of these because this is a very hard steel. This is the CPM 20CV exclusive, so don't expect this to grind right through it super quick. Alright, let's stop for a second here. Okay guys, so check this out. We are not making a lot of progress. but I'll show you what we have achieved so far. Okay. So, we have not come down on this hump barely at all. So, what I'm going to do, I can see that this sanding drum is clearly not effective. So instead of continuing to go forward and waste any time, I'm going to look and see what other kind of attachments I have, and maybe try one of the stone wheels. You know, we sharpen these knives with stones, so it would make sense that you would probably be able to grind this metal a little bit better with a stone wheel.